Welcome to the Defense and Aerospace Report. I'm Vago Muradian from Malmen Air Base in Linköping, Sweden, where we are covering the 90th anniversary of the Swedish Air Force. There's a conference here, and we are honored to speak to Håkan Buskhe, who is the CEO of Saab Group. Full disclosure, Saab has been nice enough to sponsor our trip over here to Sweden to cover this event. Sir, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Obviously, the trainer is obviously the big project for you guys. It's been very, very tightly under wraps. The TX that you're developing, or your TX entry that you've been developing with Boeing over the last 3 years. The prototypes are built. The rollout's going to be in St. Louis on the 13th. You know, folks have a tendency of looking at the cooperation between Boeing and Saab as a trainer cooperation, but you guys look at it, I think, as more than that. What are the next steps in this relationship? Where do you want it to go, and why is it so important to both companies?
Well, first of all, we have a tremendous good cooperation with the Boeing company. We think very successfully in a short time been able to build and produce and design the best trainer system in the world. We also have a ground-based launched small diameter bomb, successfully launched just in 12 to 13 months. Well, for us it's important to partner with good companies, and also that will enable us to bring new technology forward and new markets. And I feel we have a great cooperation with Boeing, and I hope we can bring that forward.
Do you, in the event that you guys are not successful, and obviously you're targeting to win TX, but it's a very competitive field, there are a lot of other guys that are in it. In the event that it doesn't succeed, do you see going on the global market with this airplane anyway?
Well, first of all, we're going to succeed. And that's the mindset you need to have. And that's why we are doing this project. And I think we will be able to show that we have the best system, a system that will probably needs to go on for the next 40 to 50 years. That's why I think it's so important to start with something new and designed for the future, and not take something old and try to adjust that for the future. Having said that, of course, we see a huge possibility globally. And we have a great market presence, both of us. And we also know the need and the interest for this trainer system is great around the world. So we will go for that as well.
Do you have a work share split between the companies yet on how much you're building of the airplane and how much they're going to be building?
We have a joint design and project team, and then we have a work split that we are not announcing. And but we have been able to do the work split, of course, in a way that fits us both, but basically we have a joint cooperation team, and I think that's the success. It's a joint effort, but of course we also focus on different things.
I want to take you to the strategic cooperation agreement the United States and Sweden have signed. Obviously you're the national Swedish defense and aerospace industrial champion. What's the role that you see Saab playing in this strategic cooperation between the two countries?
Well, first of all, since many years, there are many and strong cooperation between Saab and US companies. And in many of our products we have content from United States that we continuously develop. But of course, having now the government sign this contract, I can see more opportunities. First of all, the US market is important for us. In the United States, we also cooperate in different areas. For example, when it comes to sensors, radars, with other United States companies. And in the end of the day, the question is, how could we, together between United States and Sweden, but also industry, create the capability to secure our way of living? And I believe we have great possibilities to do so.
What are, you know, as you look at 5 years out, obviously you guys over the last 5 years have established the business in the United States. You've got a management team that is far more American than it was a few years ago, and much more focused on figuring out what the opportunities for growth are. Where do you see that business being in 5 years, with TX and also without TX?
Well, first of all, as you know, we have a multi-domestic strategy instead of a multi-international strategy. So where we have decided to focus our efforts we do that from a domestic perspective. In this case, we would like to build up our capabilities in United States, of course for the global market, but to make sure that we are seen as a local partner. I believe that we have the possibility, even without the TX, to grow with well, 200 to 300% the next 5 to 10 years. That's our aim. To be able to do so, you have of course to put enough efforts and R&D to make products that make sense for the customer. And I believe we are in that direction, but I see huge growth potential in the US, building up more capabilities, more R&D in the United States for the US market, but also of course for the global market.
Any particular product areas you think are going to be the most attractive in the US?
Well, first of all, we have put a lot of efforts into sensors, radars, our activities up in Syracuse, air traffic management system, but we are also deep into training. And but we see also other opportunities from our broad portfolio. And
the remote control tower could be very,
I
very
think
popular
that
in
yes,
places in the
we are
United States.
in the sequence of doing something there as well. But first of all, we have to make sure that we can please the customer and do the right investments, and we have enough on our list to go forward.
Mergers and acquisitions. As I was getting ready for this, a number of people said, okay, so you know, are you guys going to be striking mergers or at least striking acquisitions? And where? Are you going to be focusing more on the United States or internationally as you look at growing your capabilities?
Well, first of all, if I may say so, we have a handful of countries outside Sweden where we focus. United States is one, the UK, Brazil, India, Australia, and also Germany, where we focus our acquisition ideas. And we have also a strategy to do complementary acquisitions, so we can handle it from a culture perspective, but also technology perspective. So you don't buy something that you just need to turn down, because we're taking our commitment when we do our acquisition to build on what we have acquired, not close it down. So complementary acquisitions and build up the strength on that unit going forward. So that we will do in those countries going forward.
Do you see any particular capability areas that you think would be strengthened through mergers and acquisitions? We know whether it's on the system side, whether it's on the support side.
Yeah, I think both. First of all, you need volume. You need to also be on a certain level to have the right capability, of course, when it comes to R&D, but also be seen as a strong player in a country, whatever that country are located. So I think that goes for all countries. So you need to come to a certain size. We have extremely efficient and good R&D processes, and also established in the countries that I just mentioned, and we will move that forward. But in the end of the day, if you're not really willing to put enough money into R&D, it's hard to be a leader in any country or in any part of the business segment in the world. So that goes hand in hand.
How much of your total revenue do you put back into R&D as a percentage?
Last year, I think, was roughly 28%.
28%?
Yeah. And so when people are asking me, why don't you reach your goal of 10% EBIT? We are around 7 to 8. I mean, it's very easy to do that shortly. But we believe in planting trees and harvest later on. And also due to the technology shift and the paradigm shift is coming now so quickly with digitalization, big data, and also automation and new ways of working. Even though we have spent record high the last 5-6 years, we will not slow down. We will increase our spending on R&D going forward, because there are so many interesting things that we need to utilize in our design, in our production, but also increase the efficiency of our products and new products going forward.
How do you make, but in this market, You know, when you were, you spoke yesterday at the Swedish Air Force conference. The first day was the industrial one, and the second day is the military leadership one. You know, you mentioned that all of the commercial developments are moving at such a breakneck pace.
Yeah.
How, you know, and your job is actually to decide where some of this investment ought to be going.
Yeah.
How do you decide what are the areas that you are going to put your own investment in, and then what you're just going to harvest from commercial markets as they develop?
Well, first of all, I believe that you have also to listen to the skilled people that you have in your organization. So you both have a bottom up but a top down. What I mean is that in many cases, if you just listen to the top management, including me, even though I'm an engineer and like technology and read a lot, in the end of the day, you need also to listen to your research and development team to see what is possible, what they have found out, and create an innovative solution so you meet. Where you see that you have that environment, that also encourages you to put efforts into product development, where you can see that you have good teams with a good record in the past to adjust to the future and not just hugging the old things that we have been doing. And I believe what is happening now, it's not just that you create new products with new technology, you need to change your whole business system, and that's what we're doing, building the new Gripen and the new A26. It's total reshuffling of everything from design to production. And when you feel that your team around the world or in Sweden doing things have the right culture to adopt that, then you put more efforts into that. But I'm very confident that we are in the right situation and we have enough funding to move ahead. But I also believe that the companies that doesn't really take advantage and looking into the new technology coming, if it's on the civil market or the military market, maybe will not be around in 5 to 6 years.
You mentioned about sort of reinventing how you do business. You're going to the model-based simulation where it's much more interactive in designing a system. Everybody is involved in it in almost every stage. There are no paper drawings at all associated with anything. How is that going to be one of the key ways that you get to the margin increase? Because you've said that you do want to get from 7 to 8 to about 10%.
We are on that way. Yeah.
Is that what's going to enable you to do
that's
that?
one way of doing it. At the same time, that's on the design and engineering and production. At the same time, we're working heavily of streamlining our support functions like finance, HR, a lot of other things to carve out cost and also put automation into that. And so what we are doing basically, we are carving out cost on things that are supporting to be able to fund R&D and of course also to put some more money to our owners. And that's the key idea that we have. And I think that looks very promising.
Do you, the submarine business is a tough business, you're back into it with Kockums. Normally, the rule of thumb is you have to build at least 10 submarines for it to be profitable. You guys have 5 orders from the Swedish Navy. Are you going to be able to be profitable with this even if you don't get to 10 on the order?
Yes. And the thing that we do, and that also goes for fighter and other products, if you look at, I mean, of course, it's not the big serial numbers if you talk about 2 or 60 aircraft or 100 or whatever. But what you can identify in a system or in a platform like the Gripen or a submarine, you have scale of economy when it comes to components, where you have big serial and big numbers also in a platform. And that's the way we do it. So we try to utilize automation, technology, and we totally have rebuilt the shipyard in Karlskrona. It's probably the most automated shipyard in the world right now. And we're utilizing the same processes that we have been successfully doing now for the Gripen, utilizing model-based design and take that the full way out. And yes, we will be able, but it doesn't hurt if we get some more business, of course, and we are going for that. But good products, low cost, reliable, long term, will give you more business. It's never the other way around. I have a problem, please come and help me, give me some business so I can get more profitable. That time is over, also in defense industry.
India, you're a very, very big fan of doing business in India.
Yes.
The Carl Gustav deal was really, really big. You know, it's always good to have a big guy with a big need to give you some stability in that business. You were a competitor in the MMRCA, the Indian fighter competition, to replace the MiG-21. They went with Rafale. They're going to buy a handful of Rafales, but do you think you have a chance to get back in there with the Gripen? And more broadly, what are the opportunities you're going to be pursuing in India?
Basically, if I go some years back, and basically when I started, we had a decision to withdraw from India. But I been working in India many years before I started with Saab, and I love India. It's an amazing country, a huge democracy, and I consider myself as an Indian-holic. And so for us, we have been tremendously successful the last 6 years. We are now direct and indirect going, well, 6 years ago we were just 2-3 people. Now we are approaching 500.
Wow.
We are the only defense company in the world that have well, not inside the Indian defense company, but a foreign company that have an R&D center in India, for example, where we do design. They are involved in Gripen already and other products. So they are extremely skilled workforce, dedicated workforce, many companies. So for me, to do business with India and export from India, that we do a lot, it's something that we will do more, regardless of these mega deals. As you know, we are involved in the 2 ground-based air defense procurement processes like Vishorad and SRSAM. And then, of course, there are a bubbling possibility, and our Prime Minister visited the Make in India exhibition in February and had a talk with his colleague, Prime Minister Modi, to deepen our discussions when it comes to defense broadly. And hopefully our aviation portfolio could fit in that perspective. And what we are then, of course, commit ourselves is to do technology transfer, building up a production and ecosystem of suppliers and everything within India. And that's what we're offering. So it's a huge country, a huge need. And I really like the efforts that they have when it comes to Make in India, because they will create more independency, but they also at the same time giving more possibilities for non-state-owned companies to drive productivity.
Last question I want to ask you is, obviously Saab prides itself on culture of innovation. You know, smaller company, but always trying to put the right bets and stay on the cutting edge of technology. What do you think you do well? But as the CEO, your job also is to point out what you don't do maybe as well and can improve on. What do you think you do well, and where do you think you've got to focus on to make sure that this enterprise is successful going into the future?
Yeah. Well, the Swedish culture is basically that everything is bad. That's what we start with. If you ask a Swede if the weather is great, even if you're on a holiday resort in the Caribbean, he will say not so good. And how things going, well, like that. So we are extremely critical all the time. And I think we don't take anything for granted. We are a small country that have been extremely successful the last 80 years. But we also know and also have relatives that was extremely poor in the beginning of the 20th century. So we don't take anything for granted. I think that's a strong component. No, what we need to do in a company that really drives innovation, again, to build a culture of innovation and create, you can't order innovation. That's very interesting. You can't just order a good product. You can't order to break a paradigm. You have to have people that can live in a society, in a company, that also where you accept failures, that things didn't go the way that, I think that's the way that we try to do. But then of course also be dedicated to the products that we have to develop them. Another thing that have been very successful for us is our efforts to on a market perspective, where we have our market presence, what we have done with our market organization, and we will continue that. And even though we did great yesterday, it's a new day, and we take nothing for granted, and we would like to win the next period and the match, and then the series, and then the next year's competition and world championship as well. So it's always a new game.
Sir, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you so much.